one fall chore that you can do right now is do a little bit of cleanup in the water garden. And that's what we're doing today. We're gathering up the pine needles that have fallen from our surrounding loblolly pines and getting things ready to bring in for the winter. And one thing you want to keep in mind is as leaves fall into your water garden, not only can they be unsightly, but also they can alter the water quality significantly. You can get buildup of ammonia in the bottom of the pond as all this material decays. So it's important to get that out of the water and put it in your compost bin and not let it settle in the bottom of the water garden. Some gardeners even build little framed in type screen materials and put those over the garden to catch leaves, and they just lift them off and shake the leaves off every few days. But we find that a skimmer works fine on a garden this size. Well, some other tips I want to give you is to think about the care of the fish through the winter time. They need to be watched so far as feeding, and once they become less active, when the water temperature gets down below 45 and they don't seem to be moving around as much, you can stop feeding them and they'll go into sort of a semi-dormant stage. Another thing is to be concerned about icing over. Now if you're in southeast Oklahoma, you may not worry too much about that, but if you're in the north central to northwestern parts and there can be times when it freezes over solid, you may consider investing in a stock tank heater that'll keep that water from freezing over completely. If it's frozen more than 2 days, you can get a buildup of waste materials under there. And ammonia gases are our main concern because more than 1 part per million is toxic to many fish. Another consideration is the actual plants that are in the garden. And we have some water hyacinth back here, and they're not hardy in most parts of Oklahoma, and those will probably die off as soon as we have a hard freeze. You want to scoop those out of the garden and discard them as well. If you want to overwinter the water hyacinth, you can do that if you have a greenhouse and have a water garden in the greenhouse. But most experienced water gardeners have told us that they've not had good luck overwintering those just indoors in a house because there's just not enough light. So you may want to consider repurchasing some of those next spring. So far as hardy water lilies go, take those and drop them down into the lowest part of the pond, and we've done that. They're already in a fairly deep part of the pond. And then let's look at some of the marginal plants around the edge. This is some Chinese water chestnut here and also over here. These are some that we divided on the show a few weeks ago, and we were showing you what the water chestnuts look like. Well, with the marginal water plants that are hardy, you still want to be clipping away foliage that's dying back and leave the healthy foliage, because as this material decays into the pond, again, you can get a buildup of toxic materials in the water garden itself, because the water garden is a fairly small environment, and things can change rapidly if we don't pay attention to things like this. The water chestnuts, once they're trimmed back and start to die back for the winter, you want to drop those down into a lower part of the garden as well. Also, we'll be bringing indoors our papyrus because it's not winter hardy, and our umbrella plant. And if you have any night blooming tropical water lilies, make sure you bring those in as well. Now over here I have a plant that we've already pulled up from the water garden, and this is a water canna, and the water canna is not quite as hardy as some of the cannas that we grow in our gardens. There are some parts of Oklahoma where you can leave cannas all winter long, others where you have to dig them up in the garden. With water cannas, it's a good idea to go ahead and bring those indoors. And as with these and with the tropical water lilies and the papyrus, if you have a greenhouse, of course you can let them continue growing through the winter. But if you want them to go dormant, it's sort of like digging up a banana tree. You just pull it out of the ground and you can leave it in this pot and try to leave it moist and let the foliage die down through the winter, or you can remove it from the pot and wrap the entire root ball in moist burlap and then wrap that in a garbage sack and keep that in a garage or a basement and keep that root ball moist, but let the foliage die down completely, and you should be able to overwinter them pretty successfully. Well, good luck getting your water garden cleaned up. We've got plenty of work to do out here. I think I'll get back to skimming some of this foliage.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. You can also find more recent videos on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.